Alright gang, so today we're gonna cook one of my favorite fish dishes. It's Flounder Franchaise, or you might hear it called Francese or Francese, or I think it mainly depends on if you're in a French or Italian restaurant when you order it. But it's all the same thing. Basically, looking at a pan-fried piece of fish that instead of going into an egg wash and then using a breading, the egg wash is the breading. It's just the egg is cooked on the outside. It's delicious. We're going to use flounder, but you can really use any sort of a thin, firm, neutral fish. So any of the flat fishes, flounder, sole is one of my favorites. Certain reef fish are good. Anything in the snapper family. I've never tried it personally, but I'm guessing that whiting or pompano would be really good. You can also use a chicken cutlet that's cut thin, pounded out even. That's pretty good also. So without further ado, I hate when people say without further ado. We'll just jump in here. Let's get this thing turned on. And we're going to add a couple tablespoons of olive oil to our skillet. Once that starts heating up, I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of butter. So I'll go ahead and take my flounder, and we're going to use a simple flour coating with, I have some salt and white pepper in here. Just use white pepper so that there's not black flakes, just for presentation. But you just want to give that a little coating. Add my butter. Take our fish, go into the egg wash. Get the excess off a little bit. Have to do 2 batches. This dish will go on top of a bed of pasta. I don't like long, thin pastas, but we're out of farfalle, so I'll be using fettuccine noodles. Normally I'd put some sort of trendy vegetables on the side, maybe some asparagus or Brussels sprouts. Don't have that, so I made some planks of carrot. I'm going to cook that separately and put that on the side. Alright, let's flip these. I probably let them cook a little too long on that side. Well, no, looks pretty good. Come on, baby, flip for me. I also have my oven turned on the warming setting, and I have some plates in there. It's always kind of nice to have a warm plate to serve your meal on. I'll also, when the fish is done, I'll be putting it on one of those warm plates and putting it back in the oven just to keep warm while we make the sauce. Take a peek, see how we're doing. That one looks good. So that's easily done. So I'm going to get these out. Now I'll throw these carrots on. Maybe a little early, but it is what it is. A little oil. Pepper. Pinch of salt. Now when making the sauce, I'll have a link to my website with the full recipe as soon as I can. But when making the sauce in my recipe, I say to clean the skillet, start with fresh oil just for appearance sake. I actually don't really care about that, so I'm just going to use this oil that's already in there and go with it. Give these carrots a little flip while I'm over here. They put a little balsamic vinegar or something on these. I don't know. Not really my forte. Okay, so starting this sauce, like I said, I'm going to use the existing oil, and we're going to start by grilling, I guess you'd call it, some lemon slices. And we just flip the lemons over. Lemons grilled in butter are pretty delicious. We're going to use it as a flavoring for the oil a little bit, but I'm going to set these directly on top of the fish when we're done. Alright, so our lemons have cooked a while. I'm going to go ahead and pull those out and get on with the getting on. I am going to add a bit more butter. Looking a little low. If you start with a clean pan, the butter and oil won't be so brown. It looks a little better for presentation, but we're just going to have a browner sauce. Next, we want to add some shallot. Let that saute a little bit. A little minced shallot, and we're going to add garlic as well. Normally I would mince my garlic, but I have this little tube of squeezy garlic paste. We're going to try that this time. And I like garlic a lot, so I'm going to put quite a bit. See how this does. Oh, it smells good. Give that a couple moments. Then we are going to add some flour to make a bit of a blonde roux. Not as thick really as a roux. I'm not going to add that much flour, at least not intentionally. I like to use this Wondra flour. It dissolves really well, and it's just easy. I just sprinkle some on here. Let it cook a minute. Blonde roux doesn't add much in the way of flavor, but it has more thickening power than a dark roux. And this kind of looks dark, but it's not because of the flour browning. Alright, that's probably plenty long enough. So now I'm going to add 1/2 cup of dry white wine. I'm going to turn up my heat. I'm going to cook that down, reduce it a little bit. This one's a Chardonnay, but any dry white wine should be fine. There we go, that's looking nice. Starting cooking up well. douche. So you're happy with it. So we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of chicken stock. And we're going to let that reduce a little bit. And while we're at it, we're also going to add the juice from 1 lemon. We're going to add, this isn't in the recipe, but I like lemony things, so we're going to add a little bit of lemon zest. We're also going to add maybe a tablespoon, maybe a little more of capers. Make sure that if you use capers that you rinse them really well, because they are packed in like a super briny liquid, and it's pretty overpowering if you don't rinse them. Starting to get a little char here on these carrots. Probably ought to pull those off in a second. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to add a little bit of thyme. The grocery store was out of fresh thyme, so I'm just going to use this dry. I like to crush it up a little bit. Let this thicken up a little more. Okay, let's take this little test of this sauce. Very lemony. I like it. Actually going to add a little bit more garlic because I could use a little bit more. Check on our sauce. It's starting to look pretty good. Needs to be a little thicker. Alright, so now I'm going to get the plates out and the fish, and we'll start plating this thing up. Come here. Come here, fish. Then we're going to put some fish on this pasta. And on mine, this isn't part of the recipe, but I really love olives, so I'm actually going to add some olives just straight from the can. So we'll take this, ladle it on here a little bit, get down in that pasta. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of chives. You could use any sort of garnish you like, chopped parsley or whatever. Then we're going to grate a little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano. This is a really fine ribbon type grater. That stuff will just pretty much melt on there in short order. Finally, we will add our lemon slices. And that is it. Well, it wasn't until I got to the end of the editing process and got to the end of the video that I realized that I ended that cook session in a really bad way. I was just like, all right, and there it is, and I was done. And really should have taken some shots of, you know, the food on the plate and made it look all pretty and had some insightful commentary and whatnot, but I didn't. Sorry about that. Anyway, it was really good. About the only thing that I would have done differently is I would have made sure that sauce was a little bit thicker than it turned out, either by cooking it down longer or maybe making more of that roux to add thickness. But anyhow, I guess that's all I've got. Oh, the capers, I like them okay. I like the flavor of them in a dish. I don't actually like eating them themselves very much. So I may look into a way to, I don't know, put them in some cheesecloth or something, just to try and get some of the flavor, but still be able to pick them out easier. It's up to you. Some people like them, some people don't. You could just leave them out if you want, or whatever. All right, that's it. See you next time.